Hey YouTube, this is Kelvin. And the concept that I have for you right now is one that is incredibly simple, but it's kind of something that you don't really think about. Like, and then when you're shown it, you're just kind of like, wow, okay, I never really thought about that type deal. All right, so basically, I just kind of have this little random position set up here. We got the two connected pass pawns. We have an outside pass pawn here, and we just have the two kings. And what I want to focus on right now is these connected pass pawns right here. And in essence, connected pass pawns have the ability to protect themselves against the king. So let's say, for example, like this king is way over here, you know, and let's say you have the pawns right here, or whatever, right? Let's say it's black to move in this position. Even though the king is like crazy far away, and you're thinking, man, this king, or even let's say, the king is right here, right? You're thinking, man, this king is like crazy close, and then I mean, I'm protecting this pawn, from promoting, but like I can't really help my pawns. The cool thing about it is you don't need to help these pawns. These pawns can actually protect themselves against the king, and it literally only takes a pushing of one of the pawns. And so, however you want to do it, you can push this pawn here, and of course, in this position, it's going to attack the king, and the king will move over or do something like that or whatever, right? Let's just say the king moves over here, right? You basically can just leave these pawns in this position forever, for as long as you want to. And in this particular position, so let's say, you attack the king here, the king moves over, and, you pretty much can just, collect this pawn at your leisure, whenever you feel like it. And basically, the king is confined to having to go back and forth like this. And so, if the king is here, let's say you move your piece here, you're just trying to, get closer to this pawn right here, right? The king moves here, you take another step towards the pawn. And the reason why I say the king is confined to these two squares is because as soon as the king either goes here or goes here, this pawn just automatically pushes. And then you can see that, you're not able to, get back. You're basically just always going to be one step behind the pawn, when it's trying to get to the end of the board. So, if we were to just kind of back up here and we were to do, let's say we do the other pawn. So instead of like, doing the attack, we're just going to push this pawn here. As you can see, it's pretty much the same difference. The king's going to come in here, you're going to push your king up, and they're going to basically just have to kind of go back and forth between these two squares. Oops. So as you can see, the king is literally just confined to these two squares, or he just has to, pretty much be, you know, at any square that is in front of the pawns. He can never come back behind the pawns here. So these squares are completely off limits to it because, like I said before, the pawns just, go ahead and push. And if the king does wander, let's say, you got the king here and, you made your move here. The king goes here. You move up. The king backs up. Basically in this position, you can literally just push the pawn up. Anytime the king moves back that way, you can just literally just keep making progress. And so, you move here, and then so the king, just kind of go over, and then you can do pretty much the same thing. You either push this pawn up, and then the king is confined to these squares, or you can push this pawn up and attack, and it'll either move over or do something like that. Like whatever the case is, you basically just want to remember this position as far as connected pass pawns being able to, take care of each other. So if we just kind of set up another position here, let's say we have the pawns here, king here, and let's say we have the king right here, right? And so you're thinking, and this is okay. The king is way over here. This pawn is, getting attacked or whatever. So it's like, this just gives you the idea of like exactly what you should be doing. And so basically, your move is going to be this here. And if you can tell earlier, a majority of chess is basically just pattern recognition. And so, you're able to see these types of things in positions that you'll play yourself. And so that's what really helps you, recall these positions and these different types of tactics and the different concepts and stuff like that you'll learn. You'll be able to visualize or imagine, even if the pieces are, in a little bit different positions, or even if the kings are in different positions, you'll be able to understand, like, if you have the pawns back here or something like that, you maybe have the king back here, and you're like, hey, I'm trying to make a bunch of progress. King's coming forward. You can really either move, you can really move the pawn here. And then once it's attacked, with this knowledge, you just go ahead and move the pawn two squares up, and you have the position that we were talking about before, as far as two connected pass pawns, being able to protect themselves against the king. And so, naturally, if you're on the flip side of that, well, I mean, basically, let's say you're not black. Let's say you're white, right? I mean, it just gives you the knowledge of being able to see, like, okay, where can I go? I can pretty much just only dance between these two squares. And then it makes it, so let's say, for example, you go here and then, the person moves up and you think, cool, I'm gonna grab a pawn, and then that pawn is gone. Like it literally happens all day. I'll play on chess.com and stuff like that. And, it's amazing how many people don't know that. And so like I'll be playing against somebody and I'll have my pawn set up and, I'm over here in no man's land because I know my pawns are good. And, you'll have somebody come down and I'll make a move or do something. They'll be like, yeah, snap. And it's like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm about to go to the promised land and, make my queen and, I'm gonna be good to go. And so, it's just like something like I said that's really simple, but something that you don't really too much think about, because you do have that fear, like if your king is too far away, and it just gives you the knowledge and the awareness that you need, and so that way, if even if you have a position like this here or something like that, and let's say for example, like you're here, and you're thinking, okay, well, I have to try to protect these pawns. You know what I'm saying? Like because they're like in danger or whatever. Instead of thinking that way, you'll have the knowledge of being able to say, oh, these pawns are good on their own, and then so you'll be able to start making progress over to this direction. Instead of just kind of keeping yourself tied, thinking that you're getting tied between two different extremes of the board and stuff like that. So that is how two connected passed pawns can protect themselves against the king. And so yeah, that's that, guys. If you have any other chess concepts you'd like for me to go over, like I said, right now I'm doing a complete like series on understanding pawns in chess, and so literally any just little concept as far as pawns go I can think of, I'm just going and I'm shooting videos on it. So I got videos as far as like basic movements in chess for pawns and at the initial part of the game, or just kind of how like especially like for in games and stuff like that, because it's there is very little that is the difference between a win, a draw, and a loss, and it can be just as simple as like maybe you move the king to the wrong square, or maybe you push a pawn in the wrong spot and stuff. So I'm trying to get you guys knowledgeable about the basic movements of pawns and things like that. So I appreciate it, guys. Go ahead and give me a subscribe and like, and like I said, if there's any other videos that you'd like for me to shoot, go ahead and let me know. And then that way I'll see if I can't make a video of it for you. All right, appreciate it, guys.